I'm Lana Hawkins, and I'm here with Worth Magazine at the Milken Global Conference in Los Angeles. I am joined by John Bowman. He is the president of the CAIA Association. Welcome, John.
Leanna, thanks so much for having me.
Of course. So, John, you are with the CAIA Association. I would like to say that you're a private capital markets expert. So I'd love to get some insights from you on what you think the environment is in private capital right now.
Well, certainly, I don't know if I'm the expert, but I have access to a platform because of CAIA's brand to the smartest people in the world. So in that sense, I can put myself on repeat of what the smart people tell me. But we've seen just an explosion, of course, over the last decade, particularly since the GFC in private capital. Not only in the number of GPs and products that are offered, but maybe even more importantly, LP allocations. And so when you think about $18 trillion now of allocated private capital within LPs. It's in a place that has suddenly grown up very fast, very quickly. So it's this, I wouldn't quite say it's in its adolescence any longer, but the good news is that I think we're starting to see some rationalization. We've had the case of 0% cost of capital and up and to the right and risk on environment for a long time. And that creates a sense that everybody's smart and everybody can outperform. And I think what we're starting to see now, Leanna, in a much more complicated rate and inflation and macroeconomic environment and geopolitical environment, that we're going to start to see some separation and differentiation. So I think this is a healthy stage for private capital. It's a structurally critical part of any long-term portfolio, but we've got to see some strengthening and some maturing in different parts of the business.
And maybe just give us a little bit of background for those that aren't as familiar with the CAIA Association. What do your programs look like and what's some of the value that you're serving to the alternatives community?
Yeah, so we're about 23 years old now. So speaking of adolescence, growing into adulthood, at least on paper. We started as effectively for lack of a better term, the hedge fund test. When LPs were struggling with all these unconstrained strategies that were being birthed out of the investment banks, and they came and said, what do we do with this stuff? We're 60-40. Of course, those are called hedge funds now. And then fast forward, similar to that history I just gave in the last question about private capital kind of coming of age. And so CAIA spoke into this and inserted ourselves into the discussion and the growth and said, we need to ensure that we're providing proper education, a governor around professionalism and standards to ensure that fiduciary responsibility to care for these clients is key. And so we like to call ourselves the professional body for the alternatives industry. We offer what most people know us for is, of course, the certification program named after our organization. 14,000 members in 100 different countries have gone through the program. And really we're here to improve the industry, to help investment outcomes get better on behalf of clients, and to educate and bring thought leadership to this ever-expanding ecosystem of investments.
And so back to private capital a little bit. I want to get one more piece of advice for the audience from you on that. What would be your biggest point of advice for someone that's looking for access to private capital markets for the first time?
Well, Leanna, we get this question all the time because as I'm sure you know and your listeners know, particularly the high net worth and even the retail side of the business is salivating to get access to these risk return structures because they've shown to outperform over a long period of time. Now, even if that illiquidity premium doesn't continue, it still is a great diversifier. And so when I have those discussions, I immediately try to ensure we send a balanced message that yes, this is going to be helpful to offset some of the other risk factors and exposures in a traditional 60-40 portfolio. But you have to realize is that access to the right GPs and the right strategies is key. The dispersion is really wide. So if you choose an average or a third quartile GP, you're going to get a below average return for probably a much higher fee structure. And so it's really important there that you partner with the right organizations that either are aggregators or have different partnerships with the right GPs so that you can get true access to the best performing investors out there. So that's a really important piece that I don't think a lot of investors that are starting out trying to build a book really understand, is that beta is easy, but to find the ones that are producing alpha takes relationship and access.
And you guys have Alts New York coming up in June. Give me just a quick rundown of that so everyone can attend as well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we've got a series of Alts events, and Alts New York is one of our marquee ones, as you might expect. So probably 1,000 people talking about all of these topics. How do you go about investing in private capital responsibly? and how do you do it in a way that's going to help ultimately clients achieve their goals. So we're going to have an outstanding agenda again, great networking, and that is in mid-June in New York.